their first 4 games. Weren't playing with any confidence. Not sure what the turnaround was, but the last 2 weeks have been phenomenal. One bloke's been there for the best part of a decade is their skipper in Matthew Pavlich, who on the weekend celebrated in fine style his 200th game for a big come-from-behind victory. Pav, well done on your 200th. But more importantly, I think the last 2 weeks have been sensational. If that can be the trademark of the season, you're going to finish with a successful year.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. Appreciate the comments. But you're right. I think what we saw in the last 2 weeks is a little bit more indicative of what we thought where we'd be at the start of the year. At least the benchmark of our game in terms of winning the hard ball and starting to use the ball a bit better in that second half, especially on the weekend.
I think a lot of it, Pav, has been to do with you moving into the middle. I think winning first possession, driving through the middle, and I reckon on the weekend you didn't have your best first half, but you and Sandilands and I think Roger Hayden turned it round in the second half too. It must have been one of your better victories as skipper.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt our midfield area has needed some work, and it's great to see, obviously, Paul Haysby coming back into some strong form. Stephen Hill on the weekend was great, but, you know, when Aaron's getting so many of the ruck taps, I think it's important to have some bodies around there that have been in there for a little bit, and I guess with my body size and having a bit of time in the midfield over my entire career, it's handy for us. And you're right, and that's the type of football we need to play. That was the second half on the weekend.
It's interesting you mentioned the ruck taps for Aaron, and I guess the whole competition's been querying ruck taps versus clearances. But to me, he's going to be of as much value, if not more value, when he goes forward and does what he did on the weekend, and that's clunk a couple, kick 2 goals.
Yeah, that's right. There's obviously been no dispute about his dominance in and around the football in terms of winning the taps and whatnot, but it's his ability to do exactly what you said, go forward and clunk a few and kick some goals, which is obviously going to be a huge deterrent for the opposition. And to do that on the weekend, kick a pressure goal like he did in the dying moments and really put the game beyond doubt was really important, and it's showing how much he's growing as a person, as a leader of the club.
Pav, Kevin Sheedy was legendary for when the Bombers weren't going real well. The boys would rock up to training on a Monday and he might just grab them and say, well, look, let's just shoot down the pub and have a couple of quiet ones and get together and have a chat about it. Would that have been something that, I'm not saying that you needed to go to the pub, but a couple of weeks ago, would Mark Harvey have done something like that to just take stock the fact that you hadn't played the way you wanted to, you weren't gelling as a side? Did you do anything different a couple of weeks ago to have this better team performance happening?
We actually went off site, so to speak, outside of the club on a Tuesday afternoon and had a bit of time away together. But outside of that and that sort of quick chat, we haven't done a whole heap different. I mean, sticking to the plan, you ask a lot of people in football and business, it's really important to keep sticking to the plan and have a faith in that. And I think that's what we have done, is we haven't changed the whole heap drastically. There's been some subtle differences to the way we play and the game plan in general. But in essence, we have stuck to the plan, and I think that's really important.
There's no doubt that has been, I suppose, a strength over the 6 weeks. I mean, your 22 hasn't changed that much, but for injuries, I suppose. One of the positives was that Reece Palmer, who is one of your hardest runners, one of your greatest contested ball winners, was out on the weekend, and yet you were able to work your way through the game and really grind that win out, which has not really been a style that we've noted from Fremantle over the years.
No, you're right, and that's something that we've been working on for quite some time. And you're right, the fact that Reece Palmer and now Ryan Crowley looks like he might be out for an extended period as well. It's going to put the test and the acid on some of our middle tier, for want of a better term. Some of those players, the Brett Peake, Byron Chama, etc., Michael Johnson, David Mundy, you know, that midfield depth is certainly going to be tested, but we're happy and we're very, very keen to see those guys express themselves further and play some more game time in the middle.
I think people in Melbourne, all over Australia, are excited about Stephen Hill and seeing him play the footy he plays. I dare say that there'd be a bit of hysteria over in Perth after his performance on the weekend, but tell us a little bit about his pre-season, what stands out to you about him. Obviously he's got great skill, but he must have a bit of substance underneath there to be able to focus and perform with that pressure on him.
No, absolutely. I think that's probably one of the things that people may not or probably underestimate with Stephen, is that he is I think a number 3 draft pick we took him. There's obviously a huge amount of talk about Natanui and Rich and all those sort of players, and he's had to deal with a fair bit of want of a better term, for a long time, and you know that's hard for an 18-year-old and someone who's quite shy. You know, he's come from a reasonably humble background, and it's just great to see him out there and taking the game on like he did on the weekend. And you know, some people might not understand that he had 9 hardball gets on the weekend. So yes, he does all the fantastic and flashy stuff, but he's very much got the hardness in him as well, which is great.
And Matthew, we're not used to seeing a man cry through his love of another man, but you and Paul Hazelby must be very close. He was emotional after the game, and it was fantastic to see.
Well, it's funny you say that, Dwayne. I didn't actually, I wasn't quite aware that that was the case. Obviously, that was in the interview straight after the game. He and I had a little moment before, just after the game, almost as the siren sounded, and then obviously in the rooms. But I wasn't aware of it until yesterday afternoon. And look, it's a really special touch, and sometimes football and playing together for such a long time brings out those things. It was a really special moment, and we are close mates, and it's great to see.
And it probably was the first thing ever that confirmed to me that you probably will stay at Fremantle for your whole career.
Look, there's been a huge amount of talk about that, but I think, you know, what there is, people do underestimate, is that special connection you do form with certain players over your career. And Paul and I have been together for, you know, as I said, sort of 9.5 years, and there's one or two others like Luke McFarlane and Anthony Grover and Roger Hayden, and all these guys have been there for a long time with us. So I've gone on record many times that I'm absolutely committed to the club, and that won't change.
Roger Hayden, I don't think he gets anywhere near the recognition in the competition he would have if he was playing for a high-profile Melbourne side. And I don't think it's any coincidence that you're playing better footy with him back in the team over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, it's spot on, Jerry. His form and his ability, both as a half-back flanker or in the middle or as a half-forward flanker, is something special. It's taken a little while for Roger to get his body 100% right. He's strung together 2 or 3 seasons now. And him not being inside in the first couple of rounds certainly unsettled us. More so than almost any other player in our team. He's so important to our structure. He gives us great flexibility and is a great ball user, and he's been playing very well in the last couple of weeks. That
said, what was he doing with his Larry banana at goal when you could have sealed the game?
Don't worry, he's been made well aware of that.
Thought he might have been. One final one. Speaking of Chris Bond and your coach, pretty clearly you've made the decision not to build from outside. You've made mistakes in that area. One of the blokes, I guess, is seen as a mistake is Chris Tarrant. Yet on the weekend, and probably 3 out of the last 5 weeks, he has played very good footy and appears to be rebuilding his career as a fullback.
He's doing a great job, Chris, and I think the thing that a lot of people sometimes misinterpret with him is that you know, his work ethic and all that, you can question it, but Bucks, I'm sure you could attest to it, that he's a really hard trainer. He tries really, really, really hard, and he puts all the time and effort in, and now he's actually reaping those rewards. And to some people it may come as a surprise that he's doing that across halfback or fullback, but for a long time his greatest strength has been his speed and his aerial strength, and there's no surprise that now in the modern game that's still in essence what a good fullback needs, and it's great to see him playing well.
Matthew, great to speak to you. It's a pleasure, and we wish you the best.
Thank you very much, guys.
Matthew Pavlich having a chat. Best thing I saw